Hi everyone, this is your fifth period work. This is going to be one of the most important sessions of the year. This is all about maximising your evaluation marks. Okay, so crucial to students doing well. Okay, what is evaluation? It's all about making a critical judgment and then coming to a reasoned conclusion at the end of a 20-mark essay. You need to have a balanced approach. It's important to reason out and explain your arguments, and you must show an awareness of differing points of view. Really important. Please note, if you offer two sides of an argument, that's not an opinion, okay? And we'll come to that when we talk about reasoned judgments at the end. Okay, where do you evaluate? In 20-mark essay, after every single paragraph, okay? It has to be throughout your essay. 40% of your marks are coming through evaluation. If you're evaluating in your conclusion only, expect to lose 30%. That's 3 grades. Okay, so you'll be 3 grades down if you don't evaluate throughout your essay. Okay, and then obviously in your concluding judgment. So in terms of evaluation, when does it occur within a paragraph? Well, it's after you've given that chain of reasoning. Okay, so after your BLT. Now we're going to use a process called pecan pie. Okay, look at the pecan, you make a point, you explain it, and then you give it contextualized analysis. So you give real world examples. Okay, so that's your BLT. Okay, pecan. Okay, what is the pie? Pie is you make a point in your evaluation. Okay, and we'll come across that, and I'll show you some worked examples afterwards. Very important that you guys are fully focused on this from now till the time you have completed the course. Okay, how do you evaluate? Okay, well, perhaps you can offer an alternative suggestion or counter argument. Okay, perhaps you give a different perspective. Okay, so in macroeconomics, instead of the neoclassical perspective, perhaps you give a Keynesian perspective. You question assumptions made in your theory. Okay, we've been looking at perfect competition. Do the assumptions hold in the real world? If not, is the analysis ineffective? What does the outcome depend upon? Okay, so you're trying to weigh up points on either side. Okay, which is a strong argument. If you just give arguments, they all hold the same weight. Well, that cannot be true. So a strong point is, okay, counter it, perhaps with a weaker argument, okay, but which gives more weight. Okay, really important. Also, criticize evidence. Okay, so support evidence, weigh up the arguments. Okay, does the real world evidence support that? How crucial is this to coming up with good evaluation? Give real world examples, support your points. Okay, what else does evaluation look like? Well, consider the short run and long run impact. Consider what we looked at in terms of the short run impact of a tariff, but the long run impact in terms of retaliation and what that might mean. Try and consider the impact on different economic stakeholders. Okay, who are the winners, who are the losers? Is it significant? Okay, use critical evaluation. So we'll be looking at that. You make an evaluative point and then you counter it. Okay, so 2 pieces of evaluation within the same paragraph. Okay, really strong technique. Okay, in terms of good evaluation phrases to use, just have a look at some of these. I fully expect, Mr. Fussell fully expects you to be including these in your answers. Okay, so simple ones like however, hence, nevertheless, although, it's likely that, the tendency is, but, in retrospect, with the benefit of hindsight, on the other hand, in the short run, but in the long run, what does it depend upon? You're quite strong on that, but we need more. What does the data suggest? Okay, an alternative view is, okay, on the right hand side, in theory, but in practice. Okay, my main argument is, this idea is often criticized for. Okay, how good are these evaluation phrases? Okay, this is what must be in our answers. Okay, how to write an amazing paragraph. Here's our pecan pie example. It's quite small, so I hope you guys can read it okay. You will also have a supporting digital copy. So in terms of this, the question, evaluate the possible microeconomic impact of a government taxing all producers of plastic packaging, including plastic bottles and food containers. Now, in this particular example, there's a production negative externality. I have to say there's also consumption negative externalities from people throwing away plastic bottles and so on. But let's have a look at this. So what's the point? Look at the knowledge. Okay, so the A04 knowledge. One micro effect of a tax on plastic packaging is that it will increase the private costs of producers. Okay, we know that it leads to a leftward shift in the supply curve. It increases their costs, and so it will encourage them to innovate and find ways of reducing the amount of plastic used in products, and also to provide better facilities for consumers who want to recycle used items. Now, at the moment, that is just knowledge. Okay, important knowledge marks, but it is knowledge. Now, to try and provide contextualized analysis, we need that chain of reasoning, but also we want to try and give it context in terms of businesses. Okay, so plastic packaging creates negative externalities both in production and consumption. Only a quarter of coffee cups in Britain are, for example, recycled. There's a case for a tax on firms so that some of the external costs are internalized. That idea that the polluter will pay. Unless businesses such as Coca-Cola and Pepsi find ways of cutting plastic content, their costs will rise and their profits will fall. This might then lead to a fall in their share price, affecting returns for stakeholders, including owners and employees. One option for them would be to pass on some or all of the tax on plastic to customers in the form of higher prices. Okay, so we have explained the possible impact of a government taxing a firm. What we now need to do is evaluate that. So although in theory a tax on plastic packaging will help correct market failure, in practice many consumers will have a strong default bias towards single-use plastic bottles and plastic cups. Even if the extra cost is passed on to them, it may only be a small percentage of their total spending. Okay, so this is really, really important. Does it affect consumer behavior, and if so, to what degree? Okay, because of this strong bias, it's easy to buy single plastic. We're used to it. It's a behavioral thing. Demand might be inelastic, which means the tax might be ineffective. Okay, so come up with an alternative. An alternative might be to encourage retailers to expand a bottle deposit scheme or extra funding for free public water fountains. Okay, pecan. Okay, we've made our point. We've given contextualized analysis, and then we have made a point in evaluation. Okay, one last example. Okay, same question, this time the point. Okay, so we're looking at the microeconomic impact of the government taxing all producers of plastic packaging, including plastic bottles and food containers. So the second point would be that real incomes of consumers would fall, and this might have most effect on lower income. Okay, so clearly there's going to be a regressive impact here. We can see inelastic demand, we see a tax being imposed, and we can see the prices going up from P1 to P2. Okay, so a tax causes an inward shift of the supply curve, which other factors remaining constant will lead to an increase in retail prices for products such as energy drinks, coffee, and takeaway processed meals. When prices rise, real incomes of consumers fall, and the effect might be greatest on larger families, on moderate incomes who often rely on pre-packaged foods which use a lot of plastic packaging. This might mean that a tax would have a regressive impact, leading to a rise in inequality. Okay, so that's a strong piece of analysis there, okay, in terms of the impact, the regressive impact on lower income families. How do we evaluate this? So although there's a risk of a tax having a regressive effect, much depends on whether households change their behaviour. The plastic bag tax is widely seen as a success and has led to a big reduction in the number of bags handed out in supermarkets. Okay, so in terms of this, people may not necessarily pay more for plastic bags. They might reduce the number that they buy. In addition, the extra revenue raised by a new tax could also be used towards funding projects such as early years education, free school meals, subsidised transport for families, which would have a progressive effect on families. Okay, so consider what we have done in terms of that evaluation. Okay, change the perspective, give another alternative. How might that revenue be used to change the impact on those people who might suffer a regressive impact? Okay, in terms of homeworks for yourselves, okay, I'm just going to push on to what you guys are looking at. Let me just bring it up here. You guys have got 3 tasks to do. Okay, the first 2 I've done part of it for you. So the question that we more or less looked at something similar in class: critically assess the proposition that perfect competition will always result in an efficient allocation of resources, no matter what good or service is being produced and consumed. So in terms of this, I've given you the first point: perfect competition exhibits optimal levels of efficiency, being allocatively efficient in the long run. Now, in terms of the contextualized analysis, I've gone into detail there about why it is allocatively efficient, and then I've also mentioned that it's allocatively efficient in comparison to market structures where there are only a small amount of firms that might have that greater market power, the ability to increase price, and as a result, price is greater than marginal cost or the resource cost of production. Now, what you have to do is you have to give the evaluative point. Now, you can do that if you have a good look at the notes at the top of page 28. That will help you significantly. Okay, so why might or provide some form of evaluation? Okay, so how would you critically evaluate that statement in terms of being allocatively efficient? Okay, so you're trying to come up with a negative of perfect competition. The second paragraph I've mentioned, it's productively efficient. Okay, so in terms of this, clearly you need to explain that. In terms of your evaluation, maybe some of you are thinking about, well, what about economies of scale? Okay, is it as productively efficient as other market structures who may benefit? Okay, so try and think of alternative perspectives. And then lastly, the last point, you guys have to come up with yourselves. Okay, so in terms of this, you're going to have to explain why perfect competition is efficient. Okay, so find an angle, find an argument, provide the contextualized analysis, and then evaluate that. Okay, so page 28, top of page 28 will help you enormously. Okay, this is absolutely crucial, developing the skill. Okay, so make a really good start with it. Okay, the evidence for your 5th period homework, it will be a screenshot of what you've got here, which is page 6, page 5, and page 4. Okay, the rest of it is work, or this is the digital copy to support you in terms of your evaluations. Okay, thank you.